Hey Threadheads, Darren here. Welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. Today we're going to be tying the Blushing Onyx Nymph. This is one that I've been working on for the past week or so, and it's come about through some of the discussions on some of the hotspots on these nymphs that we've been talking about. In particular, that how the visibility of the hotspot might be affected as the fly travels through the water. So ideally this fly will be moving hook point up, but I mean it's kind of hard to be 100% sure on how it's going to look in the water, so kind of came to a conclusion that perhaps putting the hot spots on the side as a cheek feature might help with that. So I've been testing this for a couple days and the results have been pretty good. Don't forget to leave a comment down below and I'll get you entered into our draw for some decals and some flies of the month. Alright, let's get a fresh hook in the vise. So today I'm going to be tying on a fire hole 5/16 and I'm going to be using a tungsten bead. So I'm going to be using a 3.3 millimeter tungsten bead, and for thread I'm going to be tying with UTC 70D in black. And if you don't have the firehole jig hook, you can use a standard nymph for this, or any other jig hook will do fine. I like the partridge jig hooks, they work fairly nice. So we're going to push that bead back, put our thread on, and then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to tie on some cheeks. So I've got a little bit of hot pink floss, and this is just a Danville pink floss, and I'm going to tie this on in two sections. I'm going to put one strand on the left and one on the right, just so that they are easy to divide, and I can pull one side to, or one half to each side when I pull that bead up. So we just got that tied down. We'll put a couple half hitches just to secure that thread. Just make sure you don't trap any of the floss that you've tied in here. This is a little bit tricky, and using a whip finish tool doesn't make it any easier. So we'll just trim that. Then we're going to push the bead forward, put that in place, and then we want to reattach our thread right behind the bead. And we'll go ahead and we'll lay down a base layer of thread here just to get the body of the fly established. Take off that tag end, and we're going to put our thread right at the back of the bead. Now we're going to divide that floss in half, and we're going to make sure half goes to the left and half to the right. And basically I want to tie this in as a cheek feature, and you will have to use your fingers and your thumb just to kind of adjust that a little bit, and just kind of tighten the splay of that floss. Now it looks pretty good when you've just got it tied in, but I'm going to add a layer of bone dry on here, and that's just to keep it in place. Now I've been doing a little bit of experimenting, and I'm sure people are going to ask, how can we use the floss as well as the polish at the end? Well, as you can see, as soon as you put the UV resin on that, it kind of darkens that floss and it loses a lot of the hotness of the hotspot. So just with a little bit of polish at the end, that gives that a bit more brightness, but having the floss in place here, that also kind of helps secure the bead in place, so it's not going to be moving around. So when you have that, kind of serves as an anchor with the floss and the UV resin, and then a little bit of the polish on top at the end. It just kind of ensures that that bead's not going to be moving around, spinning on the head, so you don't have to worry about the hotspot changing position on you. Alright, so we've got that zapped. And we can continue on with the fly. That's secure. So next we're going to take a little bit of black wire. This is the UTC Ultra wire in the brassy size. I'm tying on a size 12 hook. If you're tying a size 12 or 14, the brassy is probably a good size, and if you're tying smaller than that, you might want to go to the small size of ultra wire. So we just tied in that wire on the close side down to the bend of the hook. Then we're going to take a few fibers of black hackle, and we're going to say somewhere around 12 fibers, and we'll just measure that. We're kind of aiming for a bit of a long tail, and overall about the length of the hook sitting off the back. And try and tie those, keeping the fibers right on top of that hook shank. And we'll go back up to the top, and we'll just trim off the butt ends. And we'll add a couple wraps of thread just to bind those down. We'll add a half hitch here just to kind of make sure that that thread doesn't bounce off. And then we're going to wind this wire. We're going to use touching turns of the wire, and we're going to take that all the way up to just behind the bead. Now, one thing I have been doing on some of the flies is just putting a coat of UV resin over top of these wire wraps, and I would say that's an optional step. I've also left it off, and I don't think it affects the fly in terms of how it fishes. It may affect the durability of the fly, but you should be good without the UV resin if you want to skip that step. Right, so we just secured that wire on the back end of the bead there. We just want to make sure that that's tied down really well. We've got thread wraps on both sides before we wiggle that off. Just pull that tight, give it a few wobbles, and makes a nice clean break. So to finish off the fly, we're going to add a collar. We're just using some black diamond dub. If you don't have diamond dub, you can look for ice dubbing in black, or something like an Arizona synthetic peacock in black. Works very well. You just want to give that a bit of a collar. You don't want to dress it too heavy here. But the idea of this was just to keep the fly mostly black, and we're just going to add this little hot spot on the fly. It's going to be a good fly for fishing some of those deeper pockets of water on some of the smaller creeks. Alright, there we go. We got a nice whip finish on that. So now we're just going to take a little bit of nail polish. I've just got some Sally Hansen's Hard as Nail that I got at the dollar store. I think these are $2 bottle polish. You don't want to raid anybody's expensive nail polish for something like this. And I'm going to do this step last just because it does need a little bit of time to dry, and you don't want to be working around the fly with wet nail polish. It's going to go everywhere. Just one last thing, and just grab the UV light, and you can kind of see the difference in the way that the pink floss fluoresces versus the way that the polish reacts to the UV light. Does it make a difference? I'm not too sure. I think it looks pretty cool. Thanks for watching, guys. Hey fly tiers, thanks for stopping by and checking out my fly tying videos. If you enjoyed the video and want to show your support, hit the thumbs up and share it to your social networks. I hope you consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, be sure to hit the bell icon to get notifications on my latest fly patterns, tips, and reviews. If you have a question or comment, leave a message below. You'll also be entered into the next draw for some of the flies I tie and a few stickers. Until next time, this is Darren saying, keep a hook in your vise. Cheers.